Okay, so we're diving into Brad and Angelina again. You're
Oh, yeah.
probably tired of hearing about it.
I get it.
But this deep dive, it isn't just like rehashing the same old gossip and drama. We're going deeper, like what actually went down, like why should any of us care? What can we learn?
I think that's the most interesting part for me. Like, this is a really public, really messy divorce.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of shows you, like, all the stuff under the surface of, like, fame and power and all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and after 8 years, like that's longer than they were even married.
That's crazy.
And they finally settled their divorce.
Finally,
It's
yeah.
finally over. So to get like the full picture, we've got stuff from news articles and like legal documents that people are talking about online.
Okay.
And of course, Reddit. Reddit always has opinions.
Always
We're going to give you a 360 view here, not just like the headlines.
like that.
So like, let's understand what happened, and then maybe you can think about your own relationships a little differently.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so where do we start?
Let's lay out the timeline because I think that's super important for understanding why this took so long.
Okay.
Quick recap. They met in 2004 on Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Classic.
got married in 2014, and then boom, Jolie files for divorce September 2016.
So that filing is really like the first domino
Right.
in this like long line of like back and forths and legal stuff.
Yeah.
It's important to remember it's not just one divorce case.
Oh.
It's like custody battles. And they had to
Okay.
become legally single, which they finally did in 2019.
Right.
And then the whole winery thing.
The winery war. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
we'll get to that.
But yeah, seeing these dates laid out like this, it really like,
It just shows you.
it shows why it's been such a long process.
Yeah, all these different layers
So many layers.
of complexity and all these legal battles.
Yeah, we have to address like,
The elephant in the room.
yeah, the incident. That
Yeah.
happened in September 2016. It seems like that was like the thing that triggered the divorce.
Yeah.
But for a long time, nobody knew what happened.
Well, thankfully, some legal documents have come out.
Yeah.
And people are discussing them online.
Yeah.
But we have to remember, these are allegations.
Allegations, not facts.
Right.
Okay, so what do we know? According to these documents, something happened on a private plane. And it sounds like Brad Pitt was being really aggressive,
Okay.
verbally abusive, and allegedly physically abusive towards Angelina and at least one of the kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the details are
Disturbing.
they're disturbing. They're allegations of like pouring beer and wine on the kids,
That's-
choking one kid, hitting another in the face. It's really bad.
Yeah, it paints a really dark picture of like what went down.
And then it gets more complicated because the FBI investigated and they found probable cause to file charges.
Yeah, but this is important. The U.S. attorney, they didn't prosecute.
So like
Yeah.
it makes you wonder like,
How much did power and fame play into that?
yeah, it's hard not to think about that. But even if we forget about like the legal outcome, something like this with these kinds of allegations would really damage any family.
Absolutely.
And they have 6 kids
Yeah.
who are growing up with all of this. Like, it must be really hard for them.
Yeah, think about it. Maddox, he's 23 now.
Right.
So he was 15 when all this happened.
Oh, wow.
And then Pax is 21. Zahara's 19. Shiloh's 18. And the twins, Vivian and Knox, are 16. Like, they've spent their whole lives with their parents going through this super public separation.
And kids pick up on everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially at that age. Like, they can feel the tension, the fighting, the stress.
Yeah.
They see the headlines, hear people talking.
They come to their own conclusions.
Exactly. And then there's the winery war.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't just about money. It was like another battleground for them.
Yeah, you're divorcing. Everything's emotional. And then there's this winery, this dream that they built together.
It's a beautiful property in France.
Yeah, it becomes like a symbol of their past life.
And a way to like maybe hurt each other.
Maybe. So when Angelina decided to sell her part of the winery, it started another legal fight. Brad said she broke a secret agreement.
Right. That basically means they had an understanding that they wouldn't sell without talking to each other first.
Yeah, even if it wasn't written down.
Right. But Angelina says, no, Brad is just trying to punish her.
So it's not really about the winery anymore?
No, it's about control. Who gets to decide what happens?
And maybe revenge.
And get this, a judge just ruled that Brad has to hand over emails and texts.
Ooh.
That could prove whether or not there was abuse back in 2016.
So juicy.
So even though the divorce is settled, this is not over.
It shows that even when legal stuff ends, the emotional stuff can keep going. especially when there are accusations like this.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the kids. They're older now, but they've seen every headline, every fight.
Yeah, it's like everyone's watching their family fall apart.
And all 6 of them dropped Pitt from their names as soon as they legally could.
Which makes you wonder, how do they really feel about their dad?
We'll get into that in part 2.
So before the break, we were talking about the kids dropping Pitt from their names.
Yeah, and what that means for their relationship with their dad.
A lot of people online are saying it's a really big deal.
Yeah, it feels like a really strong statement.
It makes you think, like, how much hurt and anger is there.
Like, we can't know for sure what they're thinking,
Right.
but that choice says something.
Yeah. Like something's wrong.
It reminds me of other celebrity divorces like Madonna and Guy Ritchie.
Oh, yeah.
Their son Rocco decided to live with his dad.
It was a whole thing.
Everyone was talking about
That's
it.
like, even with all the money and fame,
Yeah,
kids are still kids.
right.
They still feel pain.
Yeah,
They still struggle with who to be loyal to.
yeah.
And they make decisions based on what feels right to them.
And those decisions might seem weird to other people,
Yeah,
but to the kid, it makes sense.
absolutely.
We're only seeing a small part of what's happening.
Right? Like years of conversations and tension and experiences that we don't know about.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the trauma.
Right.
Those abuse allegations are serious.
Whether or not they were proven in court,
Yeah, that kind of experience can have a huge impact on a kid.
it affects how safe they feel.
Yeah.
If they can trust people,
Right.
their mental and emotional health.
And we don't know exactly what happened with the Jolie Pitt kids,
Right.
but we have to acknowledge that this is a possibility.
And we should be sensitive and compassionate.
Yeah.
We can't take away their pain,
Right.
but we can try to understand and have empathy.
So let's talk about the reactions to the divorce settlement.
Okay?
Angelina's lawyer released a statement saying she's exhausted but relieved this one part is over.
She sounds tired.
Yeah, like she ran a marathon.
Yeah, and I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I had a legal battle with a business partner.
Oh, wow.
Took years.
Oh, no.
By the time it was over, I was drained,
Yeah.
even though I won.
It's a victory, but it costs you something.
Exactly.
So Angelina's probably feeling the same way.
Probably.
A source close to her said she's trying to be positive,
Okay.
and she doesn't say bad things about Brad,
Publicly or privately?
but online.
Oh, yeah.
The internet's going crazy,
The internet always has something to say.
especially Reddit.
Of course.
There are whole threads dedicated to this divorce.
Oh, yeah.
People are defending Brad or Angelina.
It's so interesting how a celebrity divorce becomes like this test for what people believe about relationships and power.
And parenting.
Yeah. Some people praise Angelina for protecting her kids.
Yeah, others say Brad is the bad guy.
And some people say they're both to blame.
It's interesting how this case has started all these bigger conversations
About abuse.
power dynamics.
And does the legal system actually work?
It shows us that celebrity divorces,
Yeah.
they're not just gossip.
Right.
We can learn from them,
Like setting boundaries.
recognizing red flags,
Yeah.
understanding what happens when relationships go bad.
This could happen to anyone.
Yeah, it's not just celebrities.
It's important to support people who have been through this.
Yeah, and to challenge the things that silence them.
Exactly.
Let's go back to the winery lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. That's still going on.
Even though the divorce is final,
Yeah. They still can't agree on the winery.
it makes you think maybe it's more than just a business.
Right.
Like it represents something deeper.
Maybe a dream they had together.
Yeah, and letting go is hard.
So they're holding on to this last piece of their past.
And now Brad has to give up those emails and texts.
That could change everything.
It could show us what their relationship was really like.
How they treated each other.
And if there's abuse.
It's like a whole new chapter is starting.
Yeah, but we have to remember
This is about a family.
6 kids who grew up in the middle of all this,
Young adults now.
trying to figure out who they are.
And what their relationship is with their parents.
And we'll talk more about that after the break. We were talking about the Jolie Pitt kids before.
And how they've been dealing with all of this.
It's got to be hard growing up like that.
With everyone watching you.
Yeah, any little fight could end up in the tabloids.
It makes you think about what it means to be part of a famous family.
Not just the name, but all the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah, for these kids, Pitt and Jolie aren't just names.
Right, it's like their whole life.
They're relationships, good and bad.
Maybe even trauma.
And when they drop one of those names, it's like they're saying,
This is who I am now.
I get to decide.
It all comes back to control.
We've seen that a lot in this
The
story.
legal battles, the winery, the kids changing their names.
It's like everyone's trying to get some control back.
After all the chaos.
Exactly. And it makes me think,
About what?
With everything we've learned about this case,
The abuse allegations, the legal stuff.
how does it all fit together?
Yeah.
Like societal expectations, the legal system, and the choices people make.
That's a big question.
I think we have to start by remembering that even celebrities,
They're still people.
they have family,
They go through the same stuff we do.
the good and the bad.
But it all happens in public for them, with everyone watching.
And that pressure makes things worse.
It's like you're not supposed to air your dirty laundry.
But how can they keep things private
And that's where lawyers come in.
when people can't agree?
But it takes forever.
It's expensive.
And it's really stressful.
Sometimes it feels like it's not about fairness,
It wasn't about winning.
especially when you add in power dynamics and abuse.
It makes you wonder if the legal system can really help everyone.
So what can we learn from all of this?
I think it shows how important it is to communicate.
Set boundaries.
Yeah.
See the warning signs.
Because these problems can happen to anyone.
Abuse, power imbalances,
We're not immune just because we're not famous.
even perfect-looking relationships.
Yeah, they can have problems.
And sometimes those problems lead to breakups,
Divorces.
legal battles.
But even then,
There's always hope
for what?
to heal and grow and move on.
So that's Brad and Angelina.
More questions than answers.
But we learned a lot about relationships.
And about ourselves.
Thanks for joining us.
Keep thinking about these things.
Keep learning and keep talking about it.
See you next time.